Hai, saya Johan Sawirabuana Susekti. Saya dari Prodi Sistem Informasi Fakultas Sains dan Teknologi Universitas Maju. Pada video kali ini, saya akan membahas mengenai salah satu pemimpin karismatik dari luar negeri yang sudah tiada. Memiliki nama lengkap Fidel Castro. Beliau lahir pada 13 Agustus 1926 dan meninggal pada 25 November 2016. Beliau merupakan mantan Presiden Kuba yang menjabat pada tahun 1976 sampai 2008. Perjalanan Fidel Castro menjadi pemimpin sangat panjang. Dimulai dari keikutsertaannya dalam pemberontakan melawan pemerintahan sayap kanan di Republik Dominika dan Kolombia. Ia kemudian merencanakan pelengseran Presiden Kuba Fulgencio Batista, namun serangannya ke barak Moncada pada 1953 mengalami kegagalan. Setelah dipenjara selama setahun, Castro pergi ke Meksiko dan membentuk sebuah kelompok revolusioner yang disebut Gerakan 26 Juli. Bersama dengan adiknya Raul Castro dan juga Che Guevara, sekembalinya di Kuba, Castro memimpin perang gerilya melawan pasukan Batista di pegunungan Sierra Maestra. Setelah jatuhnya pemerintahan Batista pada 1959, Castro menjadi Perdana Menteri Kuba dan berkuasa secara militer maupun politik. Menurut saya, Castro merupakan pemimpin yang karismatik karena ia adalah tokoh yang kontroversial. Para pendukungnya memandangnya sebagai pahlawan sosialisme dan anti-imperialisme yang berhasil memperjuangkan keadilan ekonomi dan sosial serta mempertahankan kemerdekaan Kuba dari imperialisme Amerika. Ia telah memperoleh berbagai penghargaan internasional dan berpengaruh terhadap berbagai individu dan kelompok di berbagai belahan dunia. Berikut saya tampilkan beberapa video yang menunjukkan karisma seorang Fidel Castro.
In 1966, before an audience of Third World revolutionaries, Fidel Castro reiterated his most unwavering commitment.
Así entendemos los revolucionarios cubanos nuestro deber internacionalista. Así entiende nuestro pueblo sus deberes, porque entiende que el enemigo es uno, el mismo que nos ataca a nosotros en nuestras costas y en nuestras tierras, el mismo que ataca a los demás. Y por eso decimos y proclamamos que con combatientes cubanos podrá contar el movimiento revolucionario en cualquier rincón de la tierra.
Fidel was engaged in this worldwide movement to really overthrow governments from Zanzibar to Salvador to Nicaragua, all over Central Africa. He helped in Vietnam, in Libya, in Algeria, in Syria. They had training camps for guerrillas all over Cuba and different parts of the world.
Popular revolution against Cuba's then dictator, Fulgencio Batista. From the beginning, the charismatic but temperamental Castro left no one indifferent. The bearded revolutionary's leftist ideology soon clashed with the United States, pushing the Caribbean nation into the arms of the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War. In October 1962, Soviet missiles were brought to the communist island in what became known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, which brought the world to the brink of a nuclear war.
Y que esa revolución socialista la defendemos con esos fusiles.
Washington responded with an economic embargo that continues to this very day. Fearing they would lose everything, thousands of well-off and middle-class Cubans fled the country. while the millions who remained became part of a grand experiment to create what Castro and fellow revolutionary Ernesto Che Guevara called the new man. It was the creation of a communist-inspired socialist society with only one political party led by one man, Fidel Castro.
I'm going to tell you something. He will never be absent. His ideas will last forever.
Castro's revolution did provide education and health care to all, and did much to address racial inequality.
When you look dispassionately at the Cuban experience, and you see that there are no children begging on the streets, or people searching through the rubbish bin for food, and that there's education, I think for a small, poor country like Cuba, suffering from an embargo, that is an impressive achievement.
But at what price? During his long rule, thousands of opponents were imprisoned, sent into exile, or both. According to Castro, anyone who dissented was a traitor at the service of U.S. imperialism. Hubert Matus, who died in 2014, was a former revolutionary who spent 20 years in prison for opposing Castro.
What Castro did was take away all the rights of the Cubans. He turned the whole country into a huge prison.
Castro was never able to achieve a socialist land of milk and honey, not even when the former Soviet Union was subsidizing his economy. True, the U.S. economic embargo did take its toll, but Castro used it to justify all the nation's problems. Critics say that Castro's refusal to budge from his outdated and inefficient socialist model is to blame for the impoverishment of his people. Facing near total bankruptcy, in 2010, Cuba loosened some state controls over the economy, but not over the political system. At the Communist Party Congress in April 2011, Fidel Castro received a standing ovation as his younger brother took over the last of his titles as first secretary of the all-powerful party. The age of Fidel Castro was coming to an end. It would be the more pragmatic Raúl Castro who would oversee the historic restoration of diplomatic ties with Washington. Until the very end, Fidel Castro was a proud man who scoffed at international and domestic criticism, always insisting that his was the most democratic system in the world, convinced until his dying breath that his revolution would survive him.